Hey guys, it's Matt for Creative. So for the last 2 days I've been making content on voting. First one just called Vote, and the second one Fight, which is more or less what I fight for. Today I was having the thought about what to do for the third video. And I think what the most important thing right now to do is to talk to others. Talking is one of the most important things that you can do. And I think it's different from talking to people maybe online, on Facebook, on Instagram, maybe even yelling at a rally or a protest on the street. That's not really talking. That's you just putting yourself out there and really not expecting anything in return. When you put out such a negative out there, you're always going to get just negative back, and you're going to make no progress with what you learn and what the other person learns. The best thing to do, all in all, is talk. And that means having discussions with your friends, which more or less should have like the same reasoning that you do, have the same maybe morals that you do more or less, and that's a good first step. Talking things out more than just you and yourself doing like an internal monologue, or maybe even this. That's a good first step, talking to somebody else that you know. Next would be to talk to people who are also in your life, but not maybe directly friends. That could be coworkers or people that you maybe see regularly on the street. Just see, maybe they have totally different experiences than you. It's great to learn while maybe they share your same mindset. Maybe they got to that reasoning from a different place. And it's always good to find new ways to look at things. I think the best thing to do, and what is hardest to do, is to speak to people who don't think like you. Speak to people who honestly could begin hating you. And this is very important because you're going to see how their experiences have molded their thought process and will drive their actions. And it's very interesting to see somebody doing and living a life maybe in the same city or town that you live in, but they're doing things completely differently. Why? It's not that you're good and they're bad, because technically there is no such thing. There is just the way that you go about living your life. It's good to find out what are the positives that they see in what they're doing, where you see them and the results to be negative. And you could even find a little bit about yourself. Maybe you looked over something. Maybe they looked over something. Maybe they've been living their whole life in maybe moving in the wrong direction, or maybe you have too. Because what the most important thing is, the one thing that you should do is to be open to change. If you are beholden by tradition or what you thought a day ago, you have to stick to that, then you are never going to learn. The people around you are never going to learn, and you will not progress, and you will not allow the human race to progress to whatever it is that comes last. If you're religious, then you know what comes. If you're not, then you can always theorize about what's happening. But it is very important to be adaptive and to change. And of course, people live their lives like that. If they have a job, and if they lose that job, let's say what happened over here where so many people lost their jobs, they're going to have to adapt and do something different. I didn't work my traditional job for 3 months, and in that time I was helping my income by making these YouTube videos and doing other things that would kind of get me money. And that was just being adaptive. It was using a talent that I already had, and luckily I could apply it more often to make more. And that did help out. But let's say, you lose your job, you're fired, whatever, and you don't have any other talents. You're going to have to make sure that you have learned before something to fall back on. And it's not even something, I don't like calling it something to fall back on, because it's always good to be ready with something else. And when you live in New York City, it's always good to have more than one thing happening at a time. It's good to have 2 or 3, because this is one of the most productive cities in the entire world. And when you come here, you expect to be productive and to do a lot with your time. What's relaxing to most may not be to everybody, but for example, I work all day today, and then I come back here and I do more work, which is talking into a camera. And it's pretty interesting from how I used to find things fun. I still watch TV, but I used to do that a lot. I used to go out with friends a lot more. And then here I am, just kind of my hobby now is productive. And everything that I do, I try to make that productive as well. And again, that's my traditional job. That's YouTube, that's photography, that's a number of different things. And for whatever reason, if those all fell apart, I would have my talents in communication. I could do maybe things like voiceovers, and for the least, I could communicate and, work at a restaurant. I could do little things and then build myself back up. And it may be hard to think about things, but being adaptive as a person is pretty telling, because it allows you to succeed in your life. Being adaptive on things you learn should help you in all facets of life. The one thing is, when you're a politician, you can't really show how you're being adaptive so, just so out in the open, because they'll call you a flip-flopper. But I think the key thing is, if somebody, now we're in politics. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, you said something different 10 years ago, maybe that's what you felt at the time. Maybe that's what you're beholden to at the time. For many reasons, politicians have to vote not for what they think up here, but for maybe the money coming into their campaign. Maybe that's just what you're beholden to. But maybe you're not beholden to that anymore, or maybe you've learned something new. Both could be true. You can move on, and if you can explain yourself in a short amount of time, then you can get your point across, and maybe you'll be accepted for what you're doing next. But I think the case in point for all of this is going to be talk. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to people literally everywhere that you can, because that's going to help you. That's going to expand yourself and everybody else, and it will make things better. Try your best to avoid just shouting matches, because that's not going to help anyone. Maybe if the point is to aggravate, of course there is your point, but if you're trying to educate yourself and others, it's really not going to do anything at that point. Maybe it will teach others down the line, but positivity is always going to be more, and concise conversation, long conversation will help you and others to learn more. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, put it in the comments section below. You can find me on Instagram at m8b9. You can email me at matt8b9@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching, guys. Don't forget to vote. Today is October 31st, so after this we have 3 days, including that final day, November 3rd, where polling stations may close at 5 or 6 p.m. Who knows, maybe later depending on your state. But make sure, if you're working, try and take off if you can. Get that vote in, no matter where you're coming from, because it's good to let the country know where we lie as a majority, and the world know as well. Alright guys, again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.